What's up everyone? Welcome to another podcast episode. This one is for all the people who wants to make secondary income, who wants to make passive income, who wants to get into real estate business. This podcast is for those people. Today's guest is Dhruvin. Hey, we did a podcast a couple of weeks ago. He talks about how he got laid off multiple times on H1B visa. And in spite of that, he actually now owns 3 properties and he is making passive income on those 3 properties. We go into such depth of how do you get started, how much money do you need, what happens if you have to go back to India, all the fun stuff about real estate investment. I am hoping that this will actually help you, encourage you, and inspire you to get even start thinking about owning your own home or your own property so that you can start making passive income. Please let me know what you guys think about this episode. And I know a lot of people have been putting comments on my podcast episode that hey, you can actually speed it up to 1.5 speed and able to finish the podcast of 15 minutes into 25 minutes. Go ahead and do that. I just recommend you to watch the entire episode because there's so much information in each part. So I hope this inspires you, and if it does, please like and share, because when you share, when you comment, it helps the algorithm helps me. So we are all in a family. Anyway, I hope you do enjoy it, and if you do subscribe also to the channel. If you're new, welcome, and I'll now let you enjoy the episode. Thank you, Dhruvin. Welcome back. We are wearing the same clothes because we don't have money and we just keep wearing the same clothes.
Minimalistic life.
Minimalistic life. But thank you so much for coming. And in this podcast, I'm so excited. We're going to talk about investment and H1B life, and how to invest on H1B, which is one of my favorite topic to talk about. So I'm super curious. And Dhruvin is also obviously very popular. He's a celebrity. So he has a very huge Instagram following. So that's how I found him. But thank you, Dhruvin, for doing this.
No, thank you to you for doing this with me, because this means a lot to me, as I'm doing this for, I guess, second time now. After the first podcast, I have never done a podcast before. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm nervous now.
You're just natural. You're very natural. But let's do a quick intro for people who might have not watched your first video. What do you do right now? Where are you? Where are you from? All the fun stuff about you.
Definitely. So I am from Surat, Gujarat. I came to United States in 2014 to do my master's in electrical engineering. For my first semester, I was in NYIT, and then I transferred to Cal State Fullerton. And then I started working and realized that only working will not do anything good to me. So I need to start investing and learn about that. But that's also a funny story how I ended up doing real estate.
Mm. Before I share my story, I want to know, Dhruvin, how many properties do you own right now?
So total, I have 3.
Mm.
2 of them are in Nashville, Tennessee. 1 in California, Joshua Tree.
Wow.
All 3 are in partnerships.
All 3 in partnership. And we'll talk about what it means to be owning a property in partnership later part of the podcast. But let me share my story. So I got my job, and I think after first year, I was like, I am just spending, for me, it was more like I'm spending all this money in rent. Even though my rent was not high, it was like $500, $600. I was feeling bad that
Seriously, that's it?
Chico is very, very cheap. I mean, very, yeah. My student rent was like $200 for a private room with a bathroom.
I was paying $200 with 7 other people living in 1-bedroom apartment.
Uh, yes, no. Chico is not expensive. Chico is that was one of the reason I chose Chico. But anyway, so I was still spending $500 $600, and then I realized, like, after 1 year, I mean, it's still small amount. 500 is small, but like if you think about it, it's,
Nothing.
yeah, like $6,000 $8,000 is just gone. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be on H1B visa, and if I'm going to be here at least for next 3 years, and I know typically you can extend H1B for another 3 years, so 5 years, that's and if I know at some point I was living at that time with my roommate, and at some point I will live by myself, so the rent will become $1,000. So that's like 50, 60 thousand dollars just going waste. And if I have to go back to India, I have nothing. Like I have nothing. I'm basically gone, thrown this money as a rent, and then so that was for me. That was the decision that I'm gonna buy a house and figure out a way how to buy a house and all of that. And that's how I purchased my house right after I graduated my 6 months of job, and I started looking for a house. What's your story? How did you get into the real estate?
So I got into real estate because I got laid off. Yes, that is true. And the reason is, as we say that, all good things happen after some bad thing happens.
Hmm.
So that's what happened. So once I got laid off, as I told in my previous podcast, that I was traveling 2 hours one way
Hmm.
to the job and then coming back 2 hours. So these 2 hours were the time which I was wasting.
Hmm.
And the problem with me is if I don't listen to anything, I would fall asleep
Hmm. Hmm.
in the car.
Hmm.
And that has happened multiple times. Yeah.
Hopefully,
So I stumbled.
never
Yeah,
ran into accident. But yeah, huh?
exactly. But I had bumped someone.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I have. So I'm like, thank God this is not a freeway and this is 10 miles per hour. Anyways, there is a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So, and then I stumbled. I was listening to music every day, the same music. So I got bored.
Hmm.
And then I started listening to podcasts, and there comes Bigger Pockets.
Hmm.
So one of my uncle, like I think 2 years back, told me that you should listen to this podcast. So I had just subscribed to that, but never listened to it. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me just check this out. So I started listening to the podcast and I got hooked.
Hmm.
So I listened to almost 300 podcasts. Like
Wow.
from day one to every day, one podcast every day because I had 4 hours.
Hmm.
So at least I would finish two podcasts, like one way going to work, which is one podcast. After coming to work, one more podcast done.
Hmm.
And then I realized that, hey, I need to invest. But now the problem is I had only one salary, and it was tough for me to invest in real estate in California because I was not making fancy salary, nor I had that much money saved, which I could use to buy a house in California.
Hmm.
So then I started reaching out to the guests on the podcast, right? So there are many guests who are, they have done a lot of things and whatnot. So what I would do is after I go to work, whoever I have listened to, I would email them, text them, Instagram them, Bigger Pockets profile. I would send a message. I would send a message everywhere, wherever I can find them.
Hmm.
So at least they would see one of them, right?
Hmm.
And this went for, I think I did email and texted and whatnot, 30, 40 people almost.
Hmm.
And few of them responded that, hey, we are not looking for partnerships and whatnot. And since I was very new, I didn't know anything about it. So they were not ready to take the chance to teach me because, they are getting reached out by multiple people every day. So you know what? There is nothing new for them.
And so you were reaching out for what reason? Like, were you looking for mentorship to how to
Yes.
invest, or were you looking for partnerships, or both?
So basically both. So the thing is, I never mentioned that I want to partner up with you because I don't know how it works. I had no idea what is real estate because in India, the real estate is really opposite than what it is here.
Yes. Yeah.
In India, it's like you have to check each and everything that someone is not doing a fraud. Right? But here it is very simple. It is all legal and everything goes step by step. And I'm like, why I didn't look at this before? And none of my family members here, like not like close family members, but Masa and Masi and whatnot. So they also don't do this. So I had no idea about these things. And so I'm like, I just need some mentorship so that I can start investing in real estate. But I had no idea what mentorship I want, what should I do and what not. So then one of the guy responded, and who is my partner now for 2 properties in Nashville, Tennessee. So even that's a funny story now. I reached out to him. He is very bad at technology. So he had the profile, but he never looked at it. He had Instagram, but he didn't know how to look at messages.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He didn't have email. And I saw in one of his profile that he mentioned his phone number. And I was very scared to talk, because for me, it's a phobia that I cannot talk to any stranger right away and call them and say what I want to say, because I have a stammering issue. So the thing was, I texted him, no response. I called him. As soon as I say, hey, my name is Dhruvin Badani, I saw your podcast, cut.
Okay.
So I'm like gone. And I'm like, what should I do now? Because this was the guy whom I think I can get good mentorship or good things from, at least let's see how it goes. So what I did was, I'm like, hey, I can make a website for you. Because he didn't have anything like that. So he's like, let's talk. So what I noticed is, he is getting reached out by many people for free, right? Hey, do this for me, do that for me. And nobody reached out to him saying that, hey, I can offer you this. In return, you just mentor me, right? Even website, I don't know how to do.
But you just offered it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will figure that out later. So I told my friend, hey, make a website for him. I'll pay you. It's done. So that was the thing. And then he thought that I am someone sales guy. I mean, like some of a sales guy who is calling him.
Yeah.
So that went for 2-3 months. So basically this whole period was almost 5 months. And I was reaching out to him.
This is before your layoff, right?
No, after my layoff, when I got this new job, which is 2 hours drive. So that's when I started listening to podcasts. And that's how I reached out to him.
Okay.
And then what happened was, he's like, hey, read these 3 books and come back to me after that. He tells this to everyone. Everyone, whoever reaches out to him, this is his common dialogue that, hey, read these 3 books and come back to me.
What are those 3
books? And
nobody
came. I think one was Rich Dad Poor Dad, one was Life in Year, and one was Why A Students Work for C Students by Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay.
So, and I had already finished one book, which was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then I listened to those 2 books because I hate reading. So I listened to those 2 books during my drive, and I reached out to him after a week. Hey, I finished those books. And he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. And he's like, what are the questions you have from that book? Because he wanted to see if I actually read them or not. So I told him that, hey, I learned this from this book and this, and he's like, yeah, let's jump on a call now. And he had never done partnership before, nor we were planning to do partnerships. This was just like, let's see where it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was investing his time. I was putting my time. And I was getting his time because he knew what he was doing, and I didn't know what to do. And then he's like, what are your monthly expenses? And what do you make? And I'm like, I make this much. My monthly expenses are this is. I wrote down everything: car payment, this, that, whatnot. And he's like, what car do you drive? And I'm like, I'm driving Chevy Camaro 2016, brand new Bumblebee.
Right.
Yellow color. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I should look like a star. I bought that car just for show off, to be honest, because I wanted to look cool. That's it. And he's like, you need to sell this car. And I'm like, that's never happening. Even my wife told me the same thing when she came here, that I don't like this car because this is just for 2 people. And when the family comes here, this car would be of no use. And I'm like, I'm not selling this car ever. And when this guy tells me you have to sell this car, I sold in a week.
I need to talk to Maitri.
Right. Now she's like, okay, so now you don't listen to me and you listen to some other guy.
Yeah.
Whom you have never met, whom you have just talked for a few months or few calls, that's it. And you sold the car.
But what was the reason? What was the reason behind selling the car?
Because I was spending $900 in total every month behind the car, which was 450 was the monthly payment. Plus, since it is a sports car, you have to pay a little bit more on insurance side, which was, I think, 180 to 20. Plus the gas. Gas for driving from Anaheim to LA, which is 2 hours. And the mileage was good, actually, 23 miles per hour. So, I mean, per gallon. So that was good. And then I sold that car and I got a used car, which is 2014 Nissan Versa. And the funny thing is, when we got into that car, we are like, did we make a right decision or not? Because this car sucks, this car is not as comfortable as that car. And then that, the noise of going on the highway and getting on the highway from the exit, and it was making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's see where it goes. Now the thing is done.
Right.
You cannot do anything now.
Right.
And then that guy noticed that, hey, he is very much serious about what he's talking about. And then he's like, hey, I have got this property. Are you interested? Let me tell you, I had no idea about real estate. What is equity? What is debt? What is loan? Nothing. And I said yes. I have never met this guy. It was just on a phone.
So why
Never met
did you say yes at that point of time? Because I mean, all those reasons. So why did you say yes to that person?
It's the opportunity which knocks your door, and then when you say no, it doesn't come to you again. That's what I have noticed. When you have an opportunity, just grab it and then ask questions, whatever you want to later, rather than just telling bye-bye to the opportunity and asking questions and whatnot. Questions are good, but the thing is, once you say yes, you will figure it out later. So I said yes, and he's like, how much loan you can qualify for? I'm like, I have no idea what is loan, how to qualify for that loan. Let me know what to do. And he's like, figure it out.
Okay.
So I'm looking like how to apply for a loan, where to apply for a loan and whatnot. And then he told that to me.
Right. And this point, you are on H1B visa. You have your wife who's dependent on you. So she's on H4 visa.
Yeah.
Doesn't have EAD. So she doesn't work, right? And
that time, yeah.
Yeah. And you're making, minimum salary, you're making the salary, and you don't have a lot of savings. So you're figuring out now how to get a mortgage or how to get a loan for your house. And the house which you are trying to get a loan for, or trying to find out the loan, how much you can qualify, is not even in California. It's in different state.
Okay. It's in Nashville, Tennessee, which I have never seen.
Yeah.
Nor I saw the house.
Nor
I saw the house.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. And the thing is, in real estate, see, you have to trust people so that they can trust you. You cannot just keep on doubting people, as we do, as we always do. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if he will do this? At least give them a chance to prove you that they are honest people. Okay. So that's what I did. And he's like, we have this house. It just came up, and I think it's a good buy for us if you want to partner up. And I'm like, yes. I have no idea what to do, but if you're saying so, let's just do it. And we are like, so what's the partnership structure? So I asked him, and he's like, let me figure it out because I have never done it before. So he goes to his lawyer and figures out that, okay, this partnership would be a fair partnership, 70-30 and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah. Anyways, I was going to say yes because this is an opportunity which I want to get in, and then we'll see what happens. So I'm a big risk taker. And everyone in my family was like, no, you don't know this person. You have never met him. Because see, in India, everyone has a story of someone stealing money from one.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story. Even here, even when I ask my uncles, and no, you should not do this. This is, you never know because this has happened to me before. This is the common story. And I'm like, okay, then it will happen to me too. That's it. What else would happen? So all my savings, I was going to put it in that house. All the savings I had till now, they would be gone. If this doesn't work, we are starting from zero. So this is like 20% a down payment, and I saw that okay, on H1B you can do real estate. There are no clause for it that on H1B you cannot do real estate. It is as same as what a citizen or a green card holder does. So there is nothing different.
Unless you are spending more time in managing those properties than your real time job, like your real
Yeah,
work. Like if you're doing 40 hours of your job, and if you're spending like 45 hours or 40 hours of just managing all the properties you have, at that point of time that becomes a problem. But yeah, in general, you probably won't have that much, and if
yeah,
you do, then you just hire a property manager who will manage
management.
your, yeah. Okay.
Because for me the property manager was him. Everything was done by him. Anyways, I was in California, I cannot do anything else. What I can do is maintain the Excel sheet,
Mm, mm,
because he is not good at it.
mm,
He told me upfront that I'm not good at these things. If you can do it, let's just partner up.
mm.
So I'm very much precise in managing things, like from dollar to
So
cents.
why did you go partner route and not buy your own stuff? Just because you wanted to learn and since you didn't have any idea, or?
Yes, because the thing was, for me, I had no idea how to do out of state,
Mm,
nor nor I had an idea of doing in California, because I had no idea how this worked, what are the steps, what is title, what is escrow, and this and that.
mm,
Heard those fancy things for the first time. So I'm
mm,
like, the only thing for me to do is partnership.
mm, mm.
And if I have a good partner, I would not have to worry about that.
Okay.
And I can invest my money
Mm,
without having any issues after that, only unless and until the partner is not the right guy,
mm. Okay.
right? So that happened, and then we closed on this property, and then it's like a rehab. I had no idea. I have never heard about rehab before. So I'm like, what is rehab? He's like, we will just make some touch ups and put some walls and make new rooms and this and that. I'm like, okay, that's it. Okay, so this is the amount. I'm like, okay, there you go, this is the amount. I wired him the amount, blah blah
Mm,
blah, done. And then from day one we were getting rents.
mm.
Till today we didn't have any vacancies.
And
It's been 2 years now.
this is the property on Airbnb.
No, this is the one which is long term in
Long
Nashville,
term.
Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Long term rental. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let's track back a little bit, because for people who are watching this for the first time and getting to know more about real estate, so you partnered with somebody, and you guys gonna basically partnership in I'm guessing this is how it is going to work, is where you put some money and he does some things and he puts some money, combined you own a
Mm.
property. The money which you're going to get back, or the asset which you're going to earn, is going to be divided into XYZ percentage. This
Yeah,
is, and I'm guessing you have a contract and things legally done separately.
correct. To be honest, it was not done before.
Mm,
We never did any contract. It was just on trust.
mm,
It
mm.
was just on trust. And then we are like, hey, let's put an LLC and whatnot. And then we started doing it.
Okay. Okay. So, how much would you say? You don't have to give me how much you put in, but how much money do people need to get started? For, if let's say if they are interested, like right now, hundreds of people are watching this and they are like, okay, I have $5,000. Is that enough to get started, or like what's the amount to get into this market?
So what I realized from last 2 years is like 5-10,000 would not do anything for you
Hmm.
unless and until you go by yourself, find a house which is just 30,000, and the person is willing to sell it to you on a conventional loan and not cash offer, because everybody has got 50,000 cash. So he will accept cash offer first rather than going with you
Hmm.
for applying for a loan and whatnot. So I would say 40-50,000 should be a good amount to start with anywhere, because that gives you a leverage that you can do it anywhere,
Hmm.
not just specific state or specific location. Because if you have 40-50,000, it's easier for you and you have more options.
Hmm. And mainly that 40 50,000 is going to be used for down payment, closing cost, and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good entry point. Unless now again, if you are like two friends who want to get into it, and if you both have 25, that works
Yeah.
too. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So you got into it. You bought this property. You started getting rent, and you're not doing anything. All you did is just paid the money, wired the money on the trust basis, and this guy, the partner you have. He's managing the property, he's finding the renter, and he's doing all of it.
Correct.
So since then, have you since your down payment, have you put in any money as a mortgage payment, or is it all happening because of rent?
All from rent.
Okay, so it's only the initial amount which you paid, rest all. So basically now somebody else is actually paying your loan.
Correct.
Okay, that's so cool. That is the beauty of real estate investment. If you got the initial chunk,
Yeah.
then when you put it on rent, you don't have to worry about how you're gonna get the rest of the amount in the loan. Someone else is gonna pay yet that loan. You just have to be smart enough to find the location where renters would want to be. Okay. The first property is done, you're getting this, generating this revenue. Is the rent coming? Is it any addition to the mortgage, or is it just covering the mortgage plus the
No,
taxes?
it is addition to the mortgage because I mean the rents there are really good,
Mm.
which are more than 20% of the mortgage, 20 to 30% of the mortgage.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we are getting really good rents in that location.
Okay. Okay. So then you are like, okay, this is working. When did you decide to buy the second one?
When he texted me again, he's like, "Hey, there is one property which I saw. What do you think?" And I'm like, "If you think it's a good buy, let's do it.
Mm.
Done. Simple."
That is so awesome. Were you what about the so there are few questions which I am guessing a lot of audience will have the same question, and if you have more questions, please let us know in the comments. We will do another, maybe a live session or something like that, where we can answer your specific question. But I'm guessing these questions might come up. Is one is you are on H1B visa, you don't know if you're going to stay around, and were you not like scared, or were you not feeling this anxious that what if I don't stay here, what happens to my properties?
Let me tell you, nothing happens to your property, nothing happens to your cash flow, nothing happens to anything. Even if you go back to India, your SSN would still work and you would still get paid and you just have to file the taxes. Nothing will change.
Okay. Okay. So you can own a property even if you don't have visa. Okay, that's interesting. All right. And then other question is like, so you all, I mean, the big question is like, what if we don't get renters?
So it's part of the risk which you're taking.
Hmm.
So you have to be okay with that no matter what, because when you buy a property, anything can go wrong. So take it as a worst case scenario that you are ready for this thing,
Right.
and don't just cry on that part that hey, what if I don't get rent? Otherwise, you will never start.
Yeah.
You will never start.
Yeah. Moving on, obviously, you bought the second property with this guy. He called you. And again, I'm guessing the second property also, you did not look. You were like just trusting this guy, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be. So, what was the gap from your first property to the second property?
The first one I got in October. The second one I got in May. So
Okay.
let's say 6 months.
6 months. So, if,
Yeah.
were you saving a lot for the second property? What was your strategy for finances? Because you will need another, big chunk, because you put out all the savings for the first house. So now, what was your strategy?
So this was the last amount which I had left in my bank account, and my wife was scared. And I'm
Hmm.
like, let's see, it will happen. Don't worry. So we had last amount which I also wired him.
For
So
second
everything is
house.
invest. Yeah, second house. So now we are on four figure now.
Hmm.
Let me put it that way. So now we are scared that we just have this much in savings and we have rents and this and that. But I'm like, let's just go with the flow and see what happens. So we did that again. And once again, this property is also really good.
Okay.
So it is making the same amount as the previous property, but at a lower price point.
Hmm. 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 But before you did this, like, what's your saving strategy? Is that like do you save a lot, or like what's your strategy to save this money?
Yes. So this is most important for someone who wants to invest. We spend, if you check your accounts, you will spend $200 to $300 on things which you thought you need, but you don't need.
Hmm.
Let's say if you go to H&M store and you see a shirt that, hey, let me just buy this shirt because it is on discount. What if it's not on discount later? But that shirt will be on discount forever. So you don't need to buy it now. Just buy it when you need it. So me and my wife would ask this question whenever we buy something, that do we actually need this or no? And that's how we decide how to save money and how we can maximize on our savings rather than just putting money out there for no reason.
And that also happens, I feel, this is my way to do this, is I track the money a lot of time. People, because United States has so much digitalization in the currency, like in the money, you don't use a lot of cash. Everything is card or everything is online, right? So you spend so much money that you don't realize that where you're spending. That was for me big moment where I was like, okay, I'm subscribed to Disney, I'm subscribed to Netflix, I'm subscribed to Amazon, I'm subscribed to YouTube Prime. I'm spending like $100 on this digital platforms which I don't really need.
Yeah,
Right, and you can take that $100 out and you can invest in same $100. You can put it in Apple stock, and that stock is going to make you
exactly.
money. So the number one step for me was to really track where you're spending money. Once you figure it out, once you realize it, that okay, this I don't think we need to spend it, save those money. And that's what how I save it. I invest it in stock heavily. But yeah, so I'm guessing that's what you guys did, is like where you started tracking down the money, and it's like, okay, let's save this money, save this money, save this money, and then you saved it for down payment.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the Joshua property, because that's in California. How did
Yeah.
that happen? And in this case, you started the partner, like you were the one who are like in taking this initiative, right?
Yeah. So the thing was, this is also a host of the podcast, Tony Robinson. He is the host, and I reached out to him saying that, hey, I have two properties with Felipe, who was the host previously. And the thing is, now I have some credibility that, okay, he has partnered with these people, so he's a legit guy. And then he's like, yeah, let's jump on a call and see where it goes. So we jumped on a call, and I didn't have money. Okay. I didn't have money, but still I'm like, I can do it. No matter what, I can do it. So what happened was, like, I called him, and in the meantime, one of my wife's friend saw our video of how we bought the two properties. And he is calling us. He's like, hey, I want to do this. And I'm like, we get these calls all the time. I want to do this. But when it comes to action, nobody does it. So he's like, no, I'm pretty much serious. Let me know how to do it. Let me know how much money I need. And you just run the show. And I'm like, okay. So he was visiting us for a week. And that time I had a call with Tony. And he's like, I have a property which is coming up. So let me know what you guys think. And I'm like, yes. Once again, yes. I have no idea how it works, Airbnb. I have no idea how I'll manage the money. No idea. And I'm like, yes, I'll do it. And he sends us. So I send it to my friend. And he's like, yeah, he's the same guy. Yeah, let's do it. So I'm like, hey, Tony, we are ready. What needs to be done? And he's like, we need to qualify for a loan and whatnot. And now the funny thing happens now. Crazy. The friend of ours was on OPT.
Hmm.
Okay. So we didn't know that you cannot get a loan on OPT. Nor the
Hmm.
lender knew.
Hmm.
Lender was like, yeah, this is fine, this and that. We told her earlier that this guy is on OPT.
Hmm.
So will he qualify for loan?
Hmm.
And she's like, yeah, he has good salary and whatnot. Don't worry, you will qualify for a loan. So he gives us a pre-approval and whatnot. And then we go. And then since this is a new build, it is from the builder itself. So there is no competition. Okay, so builder approves it for this much price. And then we started the loan process with him. And then I think it was 1 week before the closing. The loan officer is like, this will not work. And I'm like,
Wow.
what do you mean this will not work? And
Right.
he's like, the rule says that you cannot give a loan to an OPT. You
Hmm.
can only give a loan to an H1B, and this is in the rules.
Hmm.
So we cannot, go against the rules.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, this is not happening. And my wife is like, you will lose this property. And I'm like, we will not lose this property. If you want to bet $100, you can.
Right.
And then it was like, I will make this happen no matter what.
Hmm.
So I started calling people in my connections that, hey, I'm looking for this much money, or for hard money, like on interest, higher interest. That's fine for me. And then I talked to a lot of people, and then we decided that, okay, we will go hard money route, which is more interest rate, right? Let's say if from bank you are getting 3% interest rate, but from hard money you will be getting almost 9 to 10% interest rate. So all profits are gone.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So this happens, and meanwhile I lose my job again.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm like, now what will happen?
Right.
Now the only chance was either we convince the seller to extend our period to qualify for the loan, or I get a loan. But now I don't have a job, so I cannot get a loan,
Hmm.
right? And now we are convincing the seller that, hey, can you please give us 3 more weeks, and we'll figure this out. 3 more weeks, nothing happened. And then we are like, this house is gone. Now we have put earnest money of 10,000.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that will be gone
Right.
if we don't close on this property. So then I just got the job right after that. But still it would take me few more weeks to get my first paycheck,
Right.
because loan officer would not qualify unless and until I have some paychecks from that company and offer letter.
Hmm.
And the problem is this H1B takes a lot of time to transfer. And I'm like, we are running against time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So again, this thing doesn't happen. And I'm like, now that guy would be mad at us like anything.
Right.
So Tony, who had good relationships with him, and he's like, one last chance, we'll make it happen. And he's like, I don't care now. I'm
Yeah.
selling it to someone else.
Yeah.
And he somehow convinced him for 1 more week. And so my H1B gets approved. I get the offer letter. And as soon as the weekends, I ask them for my pay slip and whatnot. So I send that, and now the loan gets approved.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the money was coming from my friend. So I
Correct.
didn't have in my account. So I'm like, how would this happen? So there is a way of like gifting money to someone directly to the lender. So it would be considered as a gift from him to me.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
that would work. And we had no idea about these things.
Right.
So this happened, and finally we closed on that house.
Hmm. And I want to clarify for people who might not know, or this might sound super new to them. What he's talking about is, and correct me, Dhruvan, if I'm wrong. Basically, when you go to apply for a mortgage, for a loan, you have to show certain amount that you're making, and based on that, they will qualify you. That, let's say, based on, okay.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, let's say you are making $100,000 as your salary, and they will check how many expenses you have, or how many debt you already have, and what's your income. So they look at debt to income ratio, that okay, he already has 30,000 of debt and blah blah blah. They will calculate that, and then based on that, they will say like you are qualified for $300,000 loan. And now the question is like, you will get monthly payment, that this is your monthly payment. If you put on more money, which is 20% down payment, typically, if you're buying a real estate, you have to put 20%. I think if you buy personal property, it can be 3% or 5%. But if you put 5%, then the payment is way high, and you also get PMI, which is mortgage insurance. We'll talk about that in a separate video. But anyway, so you put 20% down. So that, assuming you're buying a $300,000 property, 20% is $60,000.
No, I didn't know this before. This is good that you bring this point up.
Hmm.
For Airbnb can be counted as a second home investment.
Oh,
So
really?
you can get it for 10% down.
Acha, okay, I didn't know that. Maybe
Yeah.
I should start buying another house.
Right?
But okay, so $300,000 home, 10% down payment, so that's $30,000. So that has to be coming from the person who's taking the loan. In this case, Dhruvin didn't have that money, and what he's saying is that because he has partnered with this other friend of them who's on OPT, he has the money. So what he's doing is he's giving the money to lender and saying that this is my gift to Dhruvin as the
Correct.
$30,000. So they can work this around that way. So there's jugaad everywhere, but you have to know the
Once
jugaad.
again,
Yeah.
other thing was, this is also good that you brought this point up of debt to income ratio.
Hmm.
I was not qualified for the loan,
Hmm.
but luckily I still haven't. I was still filing my taxes,
Hmm.
so I had to make changes in my taxes so that I can get qualified for this loan.
What do you mean by changes in your taxes?
So people say that hey, you can write off a lot of taxes when you buy real estate and whatnot.
Yeah.
So all the income which was coming to us, we were not counting as income, and it was going for maintenance and
Right.
depreciation and whatnot.
Right.
So I had to decrease that amount and pay a little bit more tax so that I can qualify for this loan.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
There are many ways around, but you have to be open
And
to explore them.
who helps you with all this thing? Like, so for people who are like just studying and getting out of the college, they're not going to know all this thing. How did you learn? For me, it was all my friends, like, people who I know, they were telling
Yeah,
me. Even the lender will help you with all this. I think a lot of lenders, because they, their commission is
they
based
want
on
it.
the loan you are getting, right? So they will help you, but also the real estate agents will help you too. So what's your take on that?
So till this last house, I didn't know about debt to income ratio.
Mm.
I had no idea what that was. So my lender is a smart guy, and he's like, hey, we need to make some changes on your taxes because otherwise you'll not qualify for this loan because debt to income ratio is going above 50. It should be below 50.
Mm.
And I'm like, what is below 50 and above 50?
Mm.
And he's
Mm.
like, I'll explain you that later. First of all, let's make these changes on your taxes and whatnot. And then I get in touch with my CPA and this lender, bring them on one email, and then let's figure this out. And then that is figured out, and then I can qualify for the loan.
Yeah. CPA in United States is equivalent to CA in India.
Yes,
For
correct.
people who don't know that. Right. Yeah. So that's an interesting story. So you now have a third property, which is again partnered with you and then the OPD guy. I'm guessing the OPD guy is now on H1B, or is he still on OPD?
Yes. While we were doing that, he got picked up on H1B
Mm.
in the lottery, and he paid $3,000 more that, hey, file my H1B right now.
Premium processing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. And that is you and the other guy. How's the and obviously that is also you guys decided the partnership
Yeah,
ratios, like, oh, this will be 20% you, 80% me, whatever that ratio is. Is that on Airbnb as well?
definitely.
And how's that doing? Are you getting enough money? Is your mortgage getting covered from that Airbnb
100% from day one.
from day one? Wow.
From day one.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. So basically, you have three properties where you're not paying any loan. People are paying loan for you.
Yes.
You just have to get the initial amount together for the down
Yes.
payment.
Correct.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. I'm so glad we did this. I think this is going to open up a world for people. Hopefully, this will give them courage and also different perspective that they can get into it. Everybody has their main job, but then this is like a passive income. At this point, if you have to, so what happens if you have to get out of partnership? Do you get the money from the partner? Like, how does that work?
So basically, it is initial agreement. What we do is, let's say we are three partners, and let's say after 2 years, one of them wants to back out,
Hmm.
right? So the other two partners has the right to take over those stake from the other partner.
Hmm.
And if those two partners are saying no, we don't want it, then he can sell it to someone else outside.
Hmm.
But first right is for the partners who are already there.
Hmm.
So that's how it works.
Okay, so it's also a little tricky. So let's say 300,000 property. Out of 300,000 now, it's right now it's not your property. It's bank's property because you
Correct.
right. You when you pay a mortgage, when you pay a payment, loan payment, you're basically building an equity, right? You're building an asset. So after 2 years, you must have bought out out of 300,000. You must have bought out because you paid 10% down payment. You bought out another 10%. Let's say
Yeah.
30,000 is gone in 2 years, right? So now you have 20% of the property as your equity, and
Correct.
out of 20%, if the it is divided in 10, 10, 10, then that person, whatever that amount is, you guys decide like, hey, we will give you this and we will split it in ourselves, or one of them will say like, I'll take your stake and we'll give you this money.
Correct. Whatever the valuation of the property is there currently at that time.
Oh, even okay, so not like when
Yes.
you bought it, obviously, right?
No.
Wow. Okay. If you had to give me a range, how much does your total three property would is cost? Like if you have to give a range.
Like total cost or how much we put down?
No, total cost, and then we'll talk about how much we put down
Yeah. So the total cost would say around, I think it's 700,000.
for all three.
Yeah, all three.
Okay. So that is the total cost of the property.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Without like just the property I'm talking about.
Just a
Okay.
property. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. And then, obviously, then in the down payment wise, you have to figure out how much
Yeah.
what would be the range if you have to like 10% of it.
Yeah. So on the first house, we did 15% down.
Mm.
On the second one, we did 20% down. On the third one, which is Airbnb, we did 10% down.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So interesting. This is so, I mean, I don't even know people have watched it so long or not, because it's very technical. We go into so much detail, but only selected people might have watched it because they might be interested in it. But I'm so glad we did it. This was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Really so enlightening and very very interesting topic. Please let us know if you are interested in something like this. We'd happy to do another session with Dhruvin, and we'll get into more details. Dhruvin does a lot of Instagram content as well. Like I said in the beginning, he's a celebrity, so go check out his Instagram. If
And by the way, if you guys want to know about how I bought these properties, we also have a YouTube channel, which you can link.
yes, yes. Until our next one.
Keep smiling and keep hustling.